Good morning, you beautiful people. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day today. Today I wanted to talk about the weapon buffs / the weapon nerf that we saw about a week ago in World War II. Before the Resistance event, we have a nerf to the Kar 98K, and we have a little buff to the, I believe it was the Lee Enfield. In my opinion, this was much needed. What they did was they slowed down the, I think it was ADS time of the Kar 98K, and they sped up the ADS time of the Lee Enfield. This is fantastic because if you don't know, the Kar is a one-shot from, I believe it's the belly button up, and the Lee Enfield is a one-shot from the chest up. So you have to be more accurate with the Lee Enfield, but the Kar 98K is now going to have a slower ADS time. Well, it does now have a slower ADS time. This is the perfect balance, in my opinion. Before, it was so easy to quickscope with the Kar 98K. It was so easy. In my opinion, it was borderline exploiting a game mechanic. Like, it was nearly broken. There was so many memes. Kar 98K is the best shotgun in the game because it ultimately is. Personally, I still feel like maybe the sprint out time or ADS time is just a little bit too slow because the time to kill is very slow here in World War II, but that's just me personally. This is definitely a huge step in the right direction. Moving on to the FG-42, they nerfed this thing about in the middle of what we saw before. Before, it was like super powerful at the beginning of the World War II's life cycle. They nerfed it into oblivion I think a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago or so. It's just awful. It was like a fully automatic, semi-automatic rifle. Just very, very difficult to use, not really fun or satisfying. Now it's in a much better place. The recoil is a little bit reduced, and the rate of fire is just ever so slightly faster. Now, if I'm right, if I'm not mistaken, Exclusive Ace as well as Drifter said the rate of fire increase is not so much. It's maybe like 13 rounds per minute, but just a little bit, and I think it's mostly the recoil buff. They gave it a little bit less recoil. I think that definitely helps with it being, you have to be accurate with it. It is still a slower firing weapon, but it is so much more rewarding. Also, I'm happy that they didn't touch the STG or the M1 Grand, and that brings up the point of pro players, and I've seen many pro players, well, not many, just a few here and there, probably not the large majority, but I've seen some people complain that they buffed the FG-42. I specifically saw one video rant of somebody saying, you know, who's making these decisions at Sledgehammer? What are they thinking, you know? And I just want to do a whole video about just the game pro players play versus how we play the game in public matches and more casual. Even ranked play is a little bit different than the professional level. But let's just say, shorthand for right now, I'm happy they're listening to the public community as well as listening to the competitive community, at least somewhat. As long as they're listening and they test things, tweak things, it is a great place to be. And I love the communication they've had for the past couple weeks as well. It's been absolutely phenomenal. They're starting things off the right way at the start of this year. Great job, Sledgehammer. But there are two more weapon changes that I want to talk about in this video. The first one I want to talk about is the grease gun. The grease gun, in my opinion, I was going to do a video about the grease gun before they buffed it, before they made it even better, because this thing was a little monster. This thing was like the most underrated weapon in World War II. It had a phenomenal damage profile, absolutely amazing. The rate of fire was slow and the recoil could be a little bit troublesome. However, they buffed it. They made it they actually increased the recoil, but they made it more predictable. And it could just be because I'm on PC, and with the mouse and keyboard you have a little bit more control over your aim, and it's a little bit, you can fine tune it a little bit better. But this thing now is so sexy. It is so good. It is so amazing. The grease gun was my go-to before, and now it might be my competitive weapon of choice if I ever get into ranked play. By the way, would you guys like to see me play some ranked play? Would that be an interesting video? Let me know in the comment section below. But anyway, this grease gun, you need to try it out. I have a friend at work who never enjoyed SMGs. This thing, he tried it, he fell in love with it. This grease gun is like a hybrid between an AR and an SMG, and it is absolutely amazing. It is the best kept secret in World War II. Okay, maybe not the best kept secret, but it's one of them. It's one of the best secrets of World War II. But finally, we need to talk about the SawedOff Shotgun, because you know, I heard about the patches. I was actually playing Mario Odyssey when this patch first came out, so I wasn't really playing Call of Duty at the time, but I heard about it and I was kind of excited. I heard some feedback saying, you know, it's better, but it's not great, so I was very, very timid, but I tested it out, and you guys saw the gameplay that I'm hopefully going to show you again here. This thing is in a much, much better place than it was before. It is so much better. They've done a huge improvement with it, mostly in terms of its consistency, its damage profile, as well as its reload time. Those two things, if they can tweak those even more, it would make this shotgun perfect, but where it is now is absolutely amazing. While it is true it's not going to be like the best shotgun, and it's certainly not incredibly viable, it is so much better than it was before. Mind you, I used this both in core and hardcore before it was buffed, and this thing was absolutely awful. 2 hit markers was not uncommon. It was not uncommon to not even get a kill when putting 2 shots into somebody. And this being a much more consistent one-shot, it's not the most consistent one-shot, but it is definitely a hugely consistent 2-shot kill. I like to use advanced rifling and rapid fire because there's no like extended mags, and quick draw and a sight don't really do anything. And I do not use steady aim. I mean, you can if you want to. I feel weird with steady aim. I might do a video about steady aim, but I would rather have a wider spread to have more probability of getting more pellets on target, or the higher probability of getting any pellets on target rather than the most pellets on target, and having to be more accurate, if that makes sense. But this thing, while it's not the best, it's not as viable, like I said, as I believe it should be, it is much better. 2-shotting people is definitely the standard, and it is much more competitive now, and it's in a much better state. And so that's my thoughts on the recent weapon balancing patch. They've done an amazing job, and right now I think there are, albeit some minor tweaks we need to take care of. I think some of the semi-autos need a little bit more ammo, maybe a little bit more rate of fire, maybe a little bit faster reload time. I think the GPMG needs either a bigger magazine or a faster reload time. I think the SVT needs a little bit of work, and the shotguns of course need a little bit of work, and I think there's a select few SMGs that need to get some work. But as it stands right now, Sledgehammer Games, this is their second fully released game, and they're doing a decent job of weapon balance. There's nothing like the BAL or the ASM1. I know people say the BAR, people say the FG-42, PPSH. In my opinion, most of the ARs, most of the SMGs are very viable, and I would even argue all of the LMGs are very strong and very usable. These weapons in World War II, they're getting better, and I absolutely adore them. So this is a huge step in the right direction. Absolutely love it. Thank you guys, Sledgehammer. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know, what are your thoughts of the weapon balancing patch that was just released a couple weeks ago, and what is your favorite weapon out of all of these? Thank you guys so much for watching. Until the next absolutely beautiful Call of Duty morning, I'll catch up with you guys later. And as always, stay beautiful.
Their tank is advancing! German tank is advancing! Stop it!